Hey guys, welcome back to Flip Tip Fridays. I'm super duper excited because in the last Instagram poll I did on my Insta story, I got so many requests from dancers. And I think my highest request that I received from dancers was probably tips and tricks on turns. So in today's video, I'm actually going to be breaking down the basics of turns and the tips and tricks that I like to use when I'm teaching other students how to do turns and what I think helps me when I'm executing my turns as well. Now, even though I chose something that mainly dancers requested, this can translate into your baton twirling as well. Those of you who participate in the strut event in baton twirling, turns can easily be transitioned into your strut routine for competition. So hopefully these will help you guys out as well, but let's get started.
Okay, so before I ever start attempting my turn sections or even just pirouettes, I need to do a slight ankle warm-up so that they're warm and strong enough to hold me when it comes time to turn. I normally do a warm-up series similar to what you're seeing now. Okay, so now that we're on to the turn portion after we've done our ankle warm-up, I'd like to start by saying that there's two different ways you can prep for your turns. The first one being as simple as a step prep. Okay, so starting with your feet together, you're going to step to your right and transition your weight onto your right foot, slide your left foot through into your prep, and then from there we'll shoot up into our turns, but we haven't gotten that far yet. So what I just explained is the first way you can prep into your turns. Now, the next way you can prep into your turns is a little bit different yet very similar. So starting from that position with both of your feet together, you're going to tendu your right foot to the side, not transitioning your weight onto it this time. From that tendu, you're going to rond de jambe your foot to the back of the room into your prep. This is different because we keep all of our weight on our left foot and we stay stationary. There's no transitioning of our weight and there's no movement happening. We're grounded from start to finish in our prep. I'm sure you noticed, but that second way you can prep, you can also do to Now this time as I'm prepping, you're going to see that my hands go towards my hips and a rotation motion happens. This is me tucking my pelvis under myself. A lot of times people struggle with their turns because they tend to have a swayed back or an arched back. Doing this unengages your core and loosens you up. Without a tight core when we're trying to turn, there's no way we're going to be able to sustain our turn. So, by tucking our pelvis before we start our turn in our prep, we can then make sure that we are stable and grounded for our turns. Once keeping your pelvis tucked becomes a habit, you can then move on to the next step, which is learning how to balance in passe releve. So we follow our normal prep. I personally like the tendu, rond de jambe to the back of the room into my prep, but we're going to follow those steps. So I'm going to go tendu, rond de jambe and prep, make sure my pelvis is tucked, and then I will pop up into my releve and try to hold it as long as I can in passe balance. When working with my students, I remind them that when we balance, we have to be growing yet pushing into the floor. And yes, I know that sounds confusing, but think about it like this. Your foot should be pushing into the ground as hard as it can, that left foot that you're balancing on, while at the same time, you're trying to grow so tall that your head touches the ceiling. Try this. Just stand flat-footed on 2 feet and think about that. Ground yourself. Put all of your weight down as hard as you can into the ground. But then think about growing as tall as you can while still pushing into the ground. It's an odd feeling, but that feeling is what gets you stable enough to hold your balance skills. Okay, so now that we've practiced our preps and our balancing skills, it's now time to start adding the turns themselves in. When first learning pirouettes, it's always good to start with one single pirouette, so one turn. For me, it feels a little silly to just do one. My momentum wants to keep pushing me, but I tried to slow it down and control it for you guys so that you could see what one single clean pirouette looks like. I want you to pay attention to a few close things. I want you to look at the fact that my passe is connected to my knee. There is no space. I don't have a dangling foot. The next thing I want you to look at is my arms. Both of my elbows are even. I don't have any droopy arms. I have strong placed arms. Without placed arms in our turns, we're never going to be able to sustain it. Now the last but one of the most important things that I want you to look at is where my momentum comes from. Number one, we have to use our plie. That's a no-brainer. But the main thing I want you to look at is the fact that my momentum is coming from my left arm. If you'll notice that when I'm pushing off into my turn, I'm not cranking my right arm across my body to pull my momentum. I'm placing myself in my prep, and then I'm using my left arm to pull me tight so that I spin nice and fast when I'm doing my turn. Now for a single, we have to go slow and control it. But when we start to add more turns, the more momentum we receive from pulling that left arm across, the better it's going to be. Now I want you to think back and recall what I said in regards to pushing our base leg into the ground while growing tall. When we're doing our turns, we need to think extremely hard about this, because without the oppositional pull that occurs when we think about that, we're going to lose momentum and lose our balance when we're doing our turn. The more and more you practice this, the more comfortable it's going to become, and then you will be able to add more turns as it gets more comfortable and easier. Okay, so now we're going to move on to another commonly used type of turn in choreography, whether that be in baton or dance. It is widely used, and I'm going to be breaking down the technique of turns in second. Not fouettes, just plain Alex Acon's turns in second, which look like this. Okay, so the breakdown of this is a little bit more complicated. It's up to you to choose which prep you prefer, so you could do either or any of the ones I taught you earlier in the video, but I'm going to stick to the one that I'm most comfortable with. But let's start by breaking down the intro to the turns in second. Okay, so when you first start completing these, you're going to start with your tendu prep or your step prep or whichever prep you choose to do. But as soon as you get into that prep, you're going to complete about a 3/4 of the way pencil turn in plie, so that you rotate all the way around to that front left corner. At this point in time, your leg should still be in the pencil position. But once we reach that front left corner, we then open our leg up into a 90-degree second position, which means we have to rotate our hip open, and at that point in time is when we normally releve in our turns. For stability purposes, I'm remaining flat-footed in the video, but remember that from that plie, normally when we turn, we do have to pop up into a releve when we open into that second position. But following that second position, we then go back into our pencil turn, but this time, instead of dropping to a 45 pencil, the leg should remain closer to a 90-degree angle. Once we reach that corner again, the same thing repeats. We open up into our releve and then go back into completing the pencil turn. Once we reach that corner, open up into a releve. Now let's talk about our arms. After we complete our prep, we make sure that we pull with our left arm just like we normally do with our plain pirouettes. We pull into our pencil turn, and as we releve open into second position, our arms open with our leg into second position. And then from there, the same thing occurs again. We pull with our left arm to complete the pencil turn. Once we reach that corner and open it into second, our arms follow with our legs. Now remember, when practicing all of this, it's really important to practice both sides. It's good to be dual-sided in everything that you do. So anything you do on the right side, you should be able to do equally as well on the left.
Thanks for watching this week's Flip Tip Friday. If you liked today's video, be sure to give it a big thumbs up and hit the subscribe button down below. And if you have any questions about what we covered in today's video, leave them in the comments down below, or feel free to DM me on any of my social media accounts linked in the description. And be sure to get your requests in for future Flip Tip Fridays. This is episode 6, which means we only have 4 more left. So, if you have any specific requests for Flip Tip Fridays, be sure to reach out and let me know what they are. Also, head to my website, www.laneypuala.com, and add a /shop to check out my merchandise. But until next week, bye!